persistence is deadly, like perseverance, like keeping after. And that's for business, for life, for bow hunting, like just keeping after it and keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Welcome to the Mountain Tough Podcast, brought to you by Sig Sauer.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mountain Tough Podcast. I am Dustin Diefenderfer, CEO of Mountain Tough, and we are so glad that you are here. We love seeing you come back week after week for these episodes. It is our goal to bring you an inspiring guest every single week that helps you level up, helps you build that mental toolbox so that you can live that abundant, virtuous, always ready lifestyle. If you are a new or a loyal listener and you have not had a chance to do so yet, if you do have a second to leave us a ranking or review on the podcast store of your choice, those do mean the world to me, and they do allow these episodes to get out to more people to transform more lives. Shifting over, if you do not know so already, make sure that you take advantage of the podcast code. So as a listener of this podcast, you do have the opportunity to jump on Mountain Tough for 6 weeks for free. So we extend that offer to all podcast listeners of the Mountain Tough Show. All you need to do is go to mountaintough.com, click Start Free Trial, enter the code MOUNTAINPOD. That's all caps, all one word, MTNPOD. That's going to get you 6 weeks of free training on Mountain Tough plus the native app. So that's going to allow you to dive into the app, poke around through all of our physical training programs from no gear, full gear, minimal gear, beginner, intermediate, elite. So you're going to be able to see all of our training and start a training program of your choice. It's also going to show you all of our content. So you're going to see our mental, our nutritional, our backcountry nutrition courses, our spiritual courses. Mountain Tough Plus encompasses all of that, and one subscription gets you into all of that content. And the podcast code MOUNTAINPOD gets you 6 weeks for free. Make sure you check that out. And also, I want all Mountain Tough Show listeners to know about an upcoming event this winter. The event this winter is the Tough Sheep. Tough Sheep is going to wind up being the best chance on the entire planet to win an all expenses paid Dall sheep hunt. So what we are doing is at the Sheep Show with Wild Sheep Foundation this upcoming January in Reno, Nevada. We are hosting a workout. The workout has a 500 attendance max, so make sure you get your tickets right away. It will sell out. And by participating in that workout, you're going to be eligible to be drawn for the Stan Stevens McKenzie Outfitters Dall sheep hunt. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It is one of the best sheep tags on the planet, and these are the best odds on the planet to win a Dall sheep hunt like this. So make sure you get your tickets early for Tough Sheep this upcoming January at Sheep Show in Reno, Nevada. Shifting over to today's episode, today we had the phenomenal opportunity of Barney swinging by the lab to record this in person. Brian, one of the best bow hunters on earth, and I got the chance to hang out a lot together because he was on our SIG ARC Invitational team. And so me and him and Kevin Miller shot that SIG event earlier this summer. And Barney just continues to inspire me. His positive, optimistic attitude is so infectious. So we sat down today to talk about what should you do when you enter hunting season this fall. This episode will come out right when archery season is kicking off. And we wanted to equip hunters with skills to make sure that they stay on these hunts until the finish line. A lot of the time, it's the mental breakdowns that are going to send you home early. So that's what we cover today so that you guys have an episode to listen to in archery season, in September, in October, when you're in the middle of a 7-day, a 3-day, a 4-day hunt, and you have gone through some failure. We want you to stay out there till the very end. This episode is going to help you do that. So stand by for my conversation with Barney. When did you get back from Lanai?
Gosh, I can't even remember. Maybe the 4th or something like that, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were right after the rut was closing down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Were they still roaring over there?
A little bit, but it was really tailing off. There was still some bucks hanging with does, but it was definitely like the last part of the rut. They weren't sounding off everywhere. I'd hear maybe one per morning, and it's a bit like post-rut like elk, where they're starting to get in big groups and things, and then they were hitting ag.
Yeah.
But yeah, my buddies just had a great place, so we got some really good action. What about you? You get to hear them roar?
Yeah, it was pretty funny because I knew we were going peak rut from what everyone told me, and so we were expecting to hear roars, and in the place we were staying, the archery unit was right above the house, so we could walk like 300 yards and start hunting. And when I first heard them roar, I wasn't quite sure that was an access. I was like, that's like some weird parrot or something, because it's kind of like a high-pitched dinosaur sound. And so I was like, no, that's definitely a bird. And then the sun went down and they just started like roaring right behind the house. And then we hit them with like the headlamp, and there's just all these eyeballs staring at us. I was like, holy cow, like it's such a dinosaur sound. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah, it takes a while to tune into it because all the sounds are different. It's not like the way the woods sound around here. So you kind of have to tune into it. Like you say, there are a bunch of birds that you've never heard, and then axis calling. And yeah, it sounds so strange for a deer species that, and it takes a while to tune your ear into it too, just to hear it and know that that's an axis deer. But yeah, that's really cool, man.
It is crazy how, like our friend over there was saying that they've been hunted every day since they've been alive, 365 days a year. And so when you see them in the fields at night and they're just everywhere, and then in the day, like working your way through the brush, you're not jumping them like you would through like a whitetail river bottom where you'd see them jumping all over. They're just like, they're so skittish. It's pretty insane.
Mm-hmm. They are really switched on, and similar to like elk or mule deer, a high pressure axis deer is different than a low pressure axis deer. And so my buddies have this big place that they can hunt, and they've been targeting them in these areas. In those areas, the axis are a lot tougher to kill because they're so tuned into that pressure. And so I actually went to some different areas with lower populations, but where they hadn't really targeted them, and found some deer that hadn't been hunted as much. And it's a bit like a different species, or they're a little bit easier to get on. But yeah, they really tune into the pressure.
Yeah, they are tuned on for sure. It's pretty wild how you'll see them at night, but not during the day, and then it's wild where you'll see them almost like they're walking around the woods looking for a hunter. Like they're like looking for hunters everywhere they go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. They really, they evolved from like avoiding Bengal tigers, and so when they're in that jungle habitat or they're in those thicks, they really look for danger. And it's tough. Like an axis deer, their eyesight is so keen, so I can't get away with what I can get away with on a mule deer and elk. So a mule deer and elk in my camo, I can just pretty much freeze and not move, and they don't pick me up. An axis deer will actually see my silhouette. So I can be motionless, and I can even be in the shadows. I can have a great camo pattern, and all of a sudden they'll just tune right in on me, and they'll see me or see my silhouette. Yep. So it's a bit of like changing my strategy. Like I really have to use the cover better when I'm hunting them. I have to duck behind cover when I'm going to be like in their eyesight. And so it takes me a while to like tune in to axis and then those mouflon sheep, because they're so switched on and they have such great eyesight, and then they're so jumpy as well. But they're, I think these different species in different habitats, I think they really improve our skill sets in different ways. So they make me just way better for deer and elk season and making stock. So I really feel like it was like a great tune-up trip for me.
It's amazing from that perspective. Yeah, all the stuff it teaches you, it just makes you better and better.
100%.
Did you go to Maui and Lanai on this trip? So you hunted both places?
Yep.
Was there a difference?
I think Maui, It depends. They like live in all different habitats. So a lot of times you are hunting the thicks. And so, I know kind of that area where you're hunting a lot of timber and thicks and where they bed.
Yep.
The spot I was hunting on Maui, it's fairly open and there's some ag. And so they get out in that stuff at night and feed. You're able to catch them in mornings, catch them in evenings, kind of in more open terrain. And a lot of the bedding terrain, it's sparse cover then with the kiave trees, and they'll bed in the shade of the kiave trees. So what I was hunting is a touch more open, but there's all kinds of habitats to hunt. So there's 80,000 axis deer on Maui and 20,000 on Lanai. I mean, I really like hunting Lanai, and it seems like the deer populations are doing better out there. They were down like the last couple years, but I saw a bunch of axis and a bunch of axis bucks out there. So I mean, I think every area hunts a touch different, but it's real similar to Maui depending on where you're hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were saying Lanai, there was a major drought, and so they were finding like hundreds of dead deer in town because they were coming in to eat out of like people's backyards because the drought got so bad. And then Lanai is crazy too, how the top of the island is those tall trees that a guy like 100 years ago specifically planted to pull rain out of the clouds. So like the top gets those clouds like 24/7. And without those clouds, there wouldn't be enough moisture to sustain any sort of like deer population.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I hadn't heard that. But yeah, I know those ironwoods up on the top. It's like totally different terrain. And yet portions of that island are really dry. And then, portions like the top get those rain clouds that build up there and then rain, nearly every day up there, which is wild. But yeah, I hadn't heard that he planted those to bring in the rain clouds. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I guess they're called like Cook Pines or something because his name was Cook, and no one thought it would work, and he just kept planting one after another, and then he never even got to see the satisfaction of his work because it took a while for them to get big enough to actually bring the clouds down. But essentially, those tall trees just catch clouds and stop them, and then that moisture just falls into town.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's a really cool place. It's got some great bow hunting, great fishing, and then, you being able to pair it, taking your family over there, which I've done quite a few times as well.
Yeah.
It's just such a fun place. And I love that island, the low populations, and the people are really friendly. And yeah, it's a really cool place. It's a special experience.
Yeah, there's not many trips where you can combine hunting and family well. And that's definitely, I'd say Maui and Lanai, you can do a pretty good job of that with the beach and getting up early, hunting late, and then being with your family all day. It's pretty amazing from that perspective.
It sure is. And the action too. It's like hunting a day on Hawaii is like 2 or 3 or 4 days on the States. You just get so much action and chasing them around. It seems like there's excitement and thrill, like with every hunt you're getting on something, like maybe not arrowing something or getting in bow range, but it seems like you have a chance at critters like every time you hunt out there.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what was so awesome for me. It was such a huge blessing because I went into our trip thinking I'll spend a lot of time hunting in the morning and then I'll spend all day with the family. And right away, kind of like boots on ground, I could tell that would have worked, but it wouldn't have been ideal. We were sharing like the one vehicle, and I could tell my wife wasn't super stoked on waiting for me all morning to get back. And so what ended up happening is I ended up doing all of my access deer hunts with my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter. And, like as a guy at first I was bummed, like, oh, I'm not going to be like out all hardcore all day by myself. But it was like the biggest blessing ever from the action perspective, because for her, like, she thought it was like the coolest thing in the world because you're just seeing stuff all day long. Like you're getting so many opportunities, so many stocks. And so the way that kind of like that plot twisted for me was so awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you kind of get preconceived notions before you go on trips and how it's going to work out. And it just seems like it's always a bit different. Like you kind of have to adapt. But that's really cool you were able to hunt with her. And it's a lot of still hunting too. So you're not putting on, these huge miles. For those mouflons, I would average quite a few miles, like about a half marathon a day. But for those axis deer, it seems like their concentrations, like you're still hunting a bunch. And it's really difficult to move slowly and still hunt for even a mile. It just wears you out. Like I've never been so exhausted as hunting axis deer because you have to stay so switched on.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have to still hunt through all this stuff and glassing as you go and trying to catch them. In the moment you lose focus, it seems like you blow one of those things out or a nice buck out and you think, dang it.
I know.
I just started moving too quick. I didn't glass in front of me. I didn't think there was anything there. And then all of a sudden you blow them out. And so you really have to keep focused. And then it's that still hunting for just long distances is really difficult. But I think that also improves my skill set for elk. Like a lot of these elk, I like hunting elk in open terrain, but elk use the cover really well. Like even in open terrain, they're getting in the timber and, and a lot of these high pressure elk are like actually in the timber before even day breaks. They're not in the parks or they're just in the parks at night. And so I end up chasing these elk through the timber and I end up still hunting, like kind of knowing when to slow down and when to move. Yeah. And I find it really similar to hunting axis deer, especially when they're calling like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sharpens your skills. It's awesome.
100%.
Yeah, and what a great opportunity to add a little bit of hunting season in the middle of summer. There's not many chances to do that. And those islands need hunters. The overpopulation is an issue for sure.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's such a fun trip for me. Like I have really good friends I've made out there that I've known about the last 10 years and they just take really good care of me. Like I fly in and then, they give me a rig to use. They stay at their places and then I get such a local experience. Like we took my buddy's boat from Maui over to Lanai across the channel and then we fish when we get on the edge. And so then we have fresh sashimi out there, and I'm just immersed in it and really good buddies. And we don't hunt together per se anymore. Like we kind of like we'll take the same rig and then we split up and go different directions and meet up. But that camaraderie or those friendships that I've built out there, and they're all really good bow hunters. And then they love coming to the States, but they're definitely like specialized on hunting those Hawaii species out there. So it's just an absolute riot. And then to have the chance to hunt mouflon sheep in there, I've really fallen in love with that. Like they're really difficult. Best eyesight of any animal I've ever hunted, including antelope. And they're a small critter. They're like 60 pounds. And then you have the trade winds. So you're always hunting in these high winds out and through there. And they're just so challenging. And it's a lot of glassing. It's a lot of big open country. And they'll see you from a half a mile away. And so that taught me a lot of good lessons that I'll carry into this season. Like, those stalks are so about really taking your time and making it count. No shortcuts, no mistakes, like doing whatever it takes. And those sheep, I was chasing a couple big rams, and the one day I made a mistake. I had them right in the right spot, 100 yards away. They're over the ledge, and so I'm just wrapping around them. I'm going to pop over the top, and I'm going to shoot one of these big rams, and I start wrapping around, and I run into like a couple ewes right there. So I freeze, and all of a sudden I'm in this standoff for like 10 minutes with these ewes. Dang. And finally I decide, okay, I'm going to bust these ewes out, and then I'm going to go over the top, and I'm going to kill one of these rams, and I bust those ewes, and of course they go right into the ram. And then take the rams away. And it's like, gosh, I knew better. Like I should have just waited and been patient. And I should have just waited for these ewes to move off, even if it's a half an hour or an hour, and then go find these rams unspooked or find them where they bed or catch up to them or make another play. And I got like a little ahead of myself and I made this critical mistake, and so then I just like, I had a long walk out of there to kind of think about it and reset. But I did end up killing a ram the last day. And the whole reason was from that lesson that I had learned where they were kind of feeding out in the open and I didn't make a play because I was exposed. I just had to wait until they got into the right spot and then could drop down running the draw and then make a play up on them. No shortcuts, had a bunch of topography and undulation, and then pop up in range and make a perfect shot on that ram. So it really gets me tuned up for season. And it's a bit cliche, but I did kill him the last hour of the last day. So I hunted sheep for 5 days really hard, doing 12, 13 miles a day and making plays and stalks, and then finally got it done on a really nice ram in the end. So man, it was
epic.
It's just like such a great way to start off season, so.
Oh, it's so epic. And if you think about like the 10,000 hour rule that you hear of life, like if you want to be great on the guitar, you need 10,000 hours. If you want to be great at anything, oftentimes it's 10,000 hours of training. And so for a lot of people, that's sports, gymnastics, basketball, when they finally start getting to that very competent level. And so for most people, they're able to do that because they start at a very young age. But then when you transfer that over to bow hunting, that can be quite a difficult task when you're thinking about, in some of these states, you don't get to hunt elk or deer every year. And now you draw a mule deer tag of a lifetime and you're going out with your bow in the high country. The big benefit of stuff like Hawaii is that you can start building those hours even if you can't hunt your state every single year. And that's just a complete game changer. All that stock experience, learning all those lessons before you get to that Colorado tag. I mean, those are priceless opportunities.
Dude, so true. Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah, it is the rule of 10,000 hours, and the experience is the best teacher. And so, like, actually bow hunting, making plays, learning from it, it just sharpens your skill set. So when you get a chance at one of those high country bucks, you have a better chance at killing them. And so I always preach high opportunity hunts. And Hawaii is feasible for the average guy to be able to go over and do, for sure. But there's also doe tags. Like Montana will give you 5 white-tailed doe tags in the river bottoms, and those things are as switched on as anything. And so there's different ways to get these hours. And on a deer and elk hunt, you may only get 1, 2, 3 stalks a season at the big 6-point bull or the great big 4-point buck you want. And to think that you can go to a place like that and get 3 stalks a day, or an antelope hunt where you can get 3 to 5 stalks a day. Yeah, you're just furthering your hunting skill set, your stalking skill set, to get it to a point where you give yourself a better chance of success. So, man, you're absolutely spot on. A place like that is magic for a bow hunter. And I notice all my bow hunting buddies out there are really good at getting it done, at being successful, because they paid their dues out there, got all this experience on Axis and Mouflon, and it really translates into like being a great Western hunter.
When they come out west, game changer.
100%.
And I think you're spot on too. People don't need to go to Hawaii to do that necessarily. You can do it with doe tags in almost any state in the U.S. Even like the South, you can harvest so many deer. And that experience just builds and builds and builds. Yeah, well, and there's preseason prep. Like, that's such a big part of my skill set as well. And there's all these different facets that go into bow hunting, physical fitness and shooting and all this work you can do prior. But you can also stalk animals. You can also go drive up a forest road and stalk a mule deer without your bow in your hands as well. And so that stalking, honing those instincts, like that decision making, like getting really good at that is so beneficial when you have the tag of a lifetime. And so, yeah, I credit a lot of my success to my experience being able to bow hunt so much, but a lot of it was, definitely like going to Hawaii and places like that. But a lot of it when I was younger and didn't have the finances, or it was hunting white-tailed does in the river bottom, or it was hunting antelope during the archery only season. There's hunting hogs, so there's all these chances to get out there, and also like stretching your season, like not just hunting elk in September, but also hunting mule deer in October, mule deer in November. Like, you can really stretch your season, antelope in August. And so maybe elk is your thing, but there's a bunch of different species and different habitats that you can chase that'll really improve your skill set. Yeah, just stacking up that experience. How many days a week throughout the summer are you shooting your bow? I shoot a lot. Different guys have different protocols of how they shoot, but I'm shooting primarily like every day. Yep. And I don't shoot a ton of arrows every day. Like, I shoot,
I would say I average about 20 arrows per day. Like some weekend days, like this weekend, I have more arrows. I shoot 50 a day. And then some days I'm only shooting a set, like a group of 7, 8 arrows, or a couple sets, 14, 15 arrows. I would say I average about 20 arrows per day. I'm pretty intentional with my practice and not just firing arrows downrange, but really trying to get in the necessary practice. So I really work hard to get my bow dialed in, my sight tape perfect, shooting broadheads really well. I really like to get a good tune into my bows, but then my practice kind of morphs into shooting a lot from my knees, shooting with a high heart rate, shooting angles in the canyon. Like I just drove the canyon over here. There's some great spots where you can get up to 60-degree slopes in there. So with a high country mule deer hunt, just knowing my gear, knowing my rangefinder, and then getting those arrows downrange. And so I shoot quite a bit, and if I'm not shooting my bow, I bring like a trainer, like just a string that's my draw length that I can hook my release, that I can draw back, close my eyes, visualize, putting the pin on a bowl, pull, shot breaks.
That's
so awesome. Like
awesome.
I just did a family trip. We went to the coast, and I was going to bring my bow and shoot at my grandma's place, but we just didn't have a lot of room in the rig, and then I'd had to bring a target. And so I just brought my release trainer. So for 5 days, that's what I used to get my practice in. So I shoot quite a bit, and other guys like Dan Picar, I do a podcast with him through the Eastmans channel or whatever. But he just ramps it up like 3 weeks before season, and he doesn't shoot too much, so his aim doesn't deteriorate. He's like an intentional shooter with his release, like a command shooter. And so if he shoots too much, all of a sudden his aim deteriorates, or he can develop these bad habits. And so he doesn't shoot a lot. He actually likes big breaks, and then he ramps up 3 weeks before season, and he's a great shooter on animals. And so everybody's a bit different, but I shoot a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that in ARC. Just like your archery experience is deep and vast for sure, which is a complete game changer, especially when you get into like the little bit longer distances and then those steep angles. They had us shooting through those steel plates on those 3 steep angle targets, and that like knowing your body position and your hold and how to move your hips on that, it was definitely a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that thing was so fun.
So fun.
They had the high pressure shooting, the team aspect. Man, I just had a riot spending a few days with you going through those stages. And yeah, it's like all of this stuff. I'm continuing to try to be at my best and to be the very best bow hunter I can be. So I've gone deep down the rabbit hole of all these different pillars of bow hunting, whether that's stalking or whether that's shooting. And I've just tried to learn as much as I can. And I'm always trying to move the needle. I'm always trying to improve and get better. And that arc was definitely like an opportunity to do that, like to learn from you in the long range. You shot the pistol so well, and then to be able to do the bow courses, but they're all under pressure and they're different. Like some of them were under time, where you really had to be cognizant of the time, and so you had this high heart rate, and you're trying to get through your arrows, and if you don't finish the course, you get 0 points or whatever the case was on a bunch of those stages. But yeah, I think that arc like really pushed me to be a better bow hunter, better archer, and like you just can't have more fun than that in a few days.
Man, it was so fun, and the pressure is so simple, but it got to everyone. It got to a lot of guys, and it's just the very simple fact of being on the clock. So some phenomenal archers, when they got to that stage, when they knew they only had 7 minutes, the elevation of their heart rate was so substantial that they really could crumble in a stage like that. And that's a really practical thing that I took away, that like anyone can do that same thing at home. And so I've been shooting a bunch with my daughter this summer. She's getting ready for her 3rd hunting season, and we have this really sweet long range behind our house. And there's a big difference between just shooting steel and shooting under like a 2-minute timer. So if it's like you have to take 2 shots prone, 2 off this rock, and you're going in 2 minutes, that simulates so much of that heart rate that you're going to experience under a great animal in front of you. But that's a really easy thing that I took home from ARC, is like we can all be doing a lot of this stuff at home just by adding a timer and a buzzer. Hey guys, I did want to interrupt for a quick minute right here and let you know about some supplements I've been taking. I did shy away from supplements for a long time. I was always cautious about what they were made out of, where they were from, and who the team was behind the brands. But over the last couple of years, I've got to meet the team at Mountain Ops from top to bottom, and they are an amazing group of humans. I've got to know the CEO, Trevor Farnes, really well, and he is a mission-focused individual that cares about humans living a better quality of life so that they can have that abundant life. So over the last couple of years, he has helped me add some things that have changed the game for me. One of those things that I've added is creatine from Mountain Ops. It helps me maintain some muscle mass, but also it's a big player in cognitive function, one of the most researched supplements out there. Also, I've added reds, greens, and protein, all from Mountain Ops. What I found as a busy professional, always on the run, I do eat a whole foods diet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but on the go, it's hard to get enough vegetables, fruits, and protein. So I've added that from Mountain Ops, and it has significantly changed the game. I can feel it in my performance. I haven't got sick for a long time, and I can certainly feel it in my mental clarity as well. The last thing I've added is the Mountain Tough Hydrate product for the backcountry, for hunting season. When I'm in the hills, I do run short on those electrolytes. We even have a Mountain Tough flavor, the Mountain Tough Lemon Lime Hydrate, and that is a game changer for hydration in the backcountry. So I keep it really simple. That is all I've added to my protocol, and it has certainly helped me, and I certainly believe in the team and the culture behind Mountain Ops. They have started an initiative that's been around for a while called Conquer Hunger. Conquer Hunger is giving meals to hungry kids that aren't getting enough food, and they've given out over 6 million meals plus to kids through their Conquer Hunger initiative. So every order that happens at Mountain Ops, a percentage of that order goes to Conquer Hunger. So certainly an incredible company, an incredible culture. As a listener to the show, you do get an exclusive offer to Mountain Ops, so make sure you check that out. The offer is incredible as a first-time purchase at mountainops.com. So build your order if it's your first time. They are offering you a 20% exclusive discount. All you need to do is enter the promo code Mountain Tough, all one word, all caps, for 20% off your first order at mountainops.com.
You've been listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah, it's amazing to be able to perform under stress like that. It's a different beast for sure. And so, yeah, any way that we can add that stress, add that high heart rate. And the other thing that I really enjoyed that I think applies to a lot of mountain hunting is like the strategy and creative thinking there that, you're just introduced with this stage and you got to figure out the best way to do it. And you also, like when you're under time, you can mess yourself up just with a bad strategy. You can go too fast, too quick at the beginning and your heart rate's too high and you don't make good shots. And then you have plenty of time at the end or vice versa. You're trying to take your time on your shots and then run out of time. And so there was so much strategy and creative thinking that just kept all of our brains like working and communicating nonstop, which made it really fun.
Oh yeah. Every stage I was like, what are they trying to trick us with here? They're definitely trying to trick us with something simple. And sometimes they were, and sometimes they weren't. Yeah, totally. So you could overthink it and then get all jammed up. Mm-hmm. It was awesome.
Oh, I was drinking from a fire hose. Like, you're so good at the long range. You're so good at the pistol. And I mean, I hunt so much with the bow and that's my specialty, but man, it was drinking from a fire hose. It was just trying to take in everything you guys were telling me and then trying to perform in the moment. But I didn't have that much experience with the weapon type it was just drinking from a fire hose. But I'd be nervous, and then the team aspect, you really want to perform well for your team, and so it was just like trying to focus all my energy in what needed to happen, what I needed to do, not make any mistakes, but is absolutely one of the funnest events I've ever done, man. We were in the hunt for it too. I really wanted us to win it for the charity, you know, and we had a chance at a couple stages we could do better that still haunt me. The prairie dog one, I think about that nearly every couple days.
I think about it every day. Like, how did we screw the prairie dogs up?
It was our window. We got all the close ones, and we had a right to left wind that was stronger than we thought, but it wasn't where we were at. It was in the canyon in between us and the dogs.
Yeah.
And I put it on the right side of the dogs, but we needed to lead it. But gosh, I think about that every day. It haunts me. Like sometimes your failures will drive you to be better, you know? And so I don't really relive the successes as much as I do like a couple of the failures where, you know, I think we had a real chance at first, but there's so many stages and so many opportunities to make big mistakes. And I don't think we made many of them. Like we were pretty even keel the whole way and performed really well. We just didn't get it in the end, but man, it was fun.
Oh man, that prairie dog one haunts me every day. But it was such a cool leadership lesson because we're shooting the prairie dogs and there's 50 of them, steel prairie dogs in a field at like 250 yards. Some are at 175-ish. And so me and Brian and Kevin have to all try to knock all 50 down in the time window. And we get the close ones right away. And then we start shooting. Kevin, you, and then me, we're all shooting like 1 inch to the left because that wind is coming through that chute. But we all just keep shooting and keep shooting it. So it's like an inch left, an inch left, an inch left, an inch left. And I'm seeing some of your hits and I'm seeing some of Kevin's and you're seeing some of mine. But we just kind of keep shooting. And it's because we knew we were under time. But man, that is a giant leadership lesson of like, you got to pull your head up and look around, and you can apply that to your family. You can apply that to your business. Like if you're just in there in the weeds every day, just going through the grind and you don't find a way to elevate, and you finally did, you finally elevated and you're like, oh, it's the wind. But we didn't really have enough time to make a correction to come back and win that event. When you finally you pulled your head off your gun and you put it on your binos and you're like, all right, I'm going to see what's going on. But that's a big thing we can apply to all areas of our life. Because otherwise you're just missing every single time.
So true, man. Yeah, that's a good point. It is something that you can apply to get a better overall picture of what's going on. Because when you're working or in the weeds, like you say, you're so focused on the task at hand, and sometimes you're missing the bigger picture, or missing the more efficient way to do it, or what you really want to accomplish. You're so right. Yeah, we can apply that to a lot of our lives, and I think hunting gives us that perspective too. It seems like getting away from it really helps. Like getting away from the everyday, day in, day out workload, you can really gain this perspective looking at it of the bigger picture and what you can do better, or with your family. You know, it's like, okay, I'm doing this, and this well, but here's what I can do that's better with my family to spend more time with them, be more engaged, like whatever it is. I think hunting gives us a really good perspective being away from that. Like you almost like pulling your head off the gun. You almost have to step away from the day in, day out to be able to look at it.
Oh, for sure. Every time I go in the backcountry, I come home with so many ideas and like tests and things I want to change at home or at work. And even my wife knows that. She'll be like, you need to get in the mountains. And it's like pulling your head off the gun. Your head comes off that gun and you're like, oh, you start seeing things that you didn't see before. It's really magical. Yeah,
just like strategy and creative thinking was rewarded in the competition, it is in life as well. And like being able to think through things and come up with a better way to do it is I'm constantly evolving and working. Like I want to be a student of the game, and whether that's in business, whether that's in bow hunting or in life, like what drives me is the continual improvement, like the really working on it and getting better at it. And really your life doesn't just change when you're working hard. Like you have to structure it the way you want to live your life, or otherwise it just keeps going down the same path. So those small changes or that perspective that you gain, and to be able to bring that back and then implement them into your life has been huge for me. And I'm continuing to do it every year, every day, like just trying to get better. And I think that passion is like what really excites me about life, that constant improvement. It's what I really enjoy about this journey for sure.
Let's connect that kind of for guys going into this fall, because this episode will come out right about archery season kickoff. So right in that first week of September. And I think you're spot on that in life, we need to know that we're in the driver's seat. So we're in the driver's seat. We're steering the wheel of life. And it is easy to think that life is just dictated by other things and that we're just following down that path. But just like you said, with business and hunting and family, we do have the ability and opportunity to take control, and we are the driver of our fate in some ways. So we can decide what we want things to look like if we take the action steps down that path. But when we transfer that over to hunting and guys going out in the hills this September, and a lot of people will be in state, a lot of people will be out of state, but how do we transfer that over to September when it comes to taking control of what our September and October are going to look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. Yeah, it's control the controllables. It's like doing everything you can do on your part to put full effort in, and really the biggest tool we have is on the mental side of things, the mental toughness. Like persistence is deadly, and it's like one of my best attributes. It's just being persistent and constantly putting forth effort. And there's always an excuse. Like there's always a reason why a tag didn't get filled or you didn't arrow a bull. Maybe it's the hunting pressure, the rut has waned off, or it was smoky, or there's like all these excuses. But it's like a way to allow yourself to be unsuccessful, and you're not going to be successful 100% of the time. But what I am going to do is I'm going to put 100% effort into that hunt 100% of the time. I'm going to do absolutely everything in my power, and it's not going to go the way I imagine it. Like I can make the best laid out plans of how I'm going to arrow a buck in the high country this year, how I'm going to arrow a giant bull, and it almost never goes to script, or it never goes to script. I'm always having to adapt and adjust. And so, like, I think it's just keeping your mind in it. And because things get more difficult, yeah, there's a lot of guys going hard. There's a lot of good hunters out there. You can either use that as an excuse, but really, it's a reason to put more effort in, not less effort. Like, the more you put into something, the more it means to you when you achieve it. So, hunting may be getting a little bit more difficult, yes, but that's no reason for me to put in less effort. That's a reason for me to put in more effort. Yeah. And I just find, like, when I can grind, when I can keep my head in the game, when I can keep being persistent, putting forth full effort, keep theorizing of the next place to go, run into people and then think, how do I get away from them? Or there's still all the elk in the unit. Where are these elk getting pushed to? Just keep thinking of my next move, keep putting forth that effort. And it comes and goes so quick, and it's easy to say, it's tougher to do when you're into a 10-day grind and you're 5 days in and you haven't found a bull. But I just know that in the end, I believe in my skill sets. I believe in the work that I put in. I believe that I can create an opportunity and arrow a critter. And so I just keep putting full effort in, and eventually, like, an opportunity will arise. And I've learned this lesson over the years. Like, this bear season is a perfect example. Like, bears are really difficult, and especially a giant one, especially with a bow. Yeah. And mountain spot bear. And stalk. Yeah. But I keep putting forth the days, and I just believe in the cause and believe it'll come together. And pretty soon, there's a bear off one of my vantage points, and I make a run at him and able to arrow like one of my best bears to date. And so I've proven it to myself time and time again on these tough hunts. So there's just nothing more beautiful than challenging myself in these really difficult tasks. And bow hunting is the perfect arena for it. So really, that's like the gist of what's going on inside my head, like when I'm embarking on these hunts.
Yeah, that's amazing. And when you were talking there, it definitely is obvious that a lot of that is due to your preparation. And so without preparation, without a solid foundation, without being confident, it's probably a lot more difficult to maintain that grind for the long run. because it's going to come down to physical, mental, and then technical for archery hunting. So if physically you're hurting on the first couple days of your hunt, maintaining that grind is going to be quite difficult. But you handle your physical preparation the same as your technical preparation. Like you've been hitting it hard this summer and all summers, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, physical is a huge part of it. Like, in confidence, you can't just make it out of thin air. Like confidence comes from the work that you put in for sure. And so like, just as I'm trying to evolve all my stalking and my shooting, I'm also trying to evolve my physical fitness, and Mountain Tough's been a huge part of that. Like Mountain Tough showed me some weaknesses in my game for sure. And so, I put quite a bit of muscle on this summer and really been focused on that. And, and not just so trail running specific, as that muscle is really helping me in the mountains.
Awesome.
So like the preparation physical, like it's pushing you physically where I know I can trust my body to get me in and out places, like to get in an animal out of a hole or out of miles back from the backcountry. And so I have such confidence in my body to be able to keep pushing day after day. And so that's a huge part of it. But what I'm also doing, with that physical fitness, is sharpening my mind for hunting season. And so that mental toughness carries over into hunting season, doing the things I don't want to do or being disciplined day in, day out doing that. And so that translates really well to like a backcountry bow hunt. So yeah, all the prep I'm doing, all the work I'm putting in, the muscle that I've added helps me with the pack, helps me with recovery, helps me. It seems like I don't get tweaks in my back anymore. I've just strengthened my back to a place now to where I can take that backpack day after day. But really, it gives me the confidence where no buck is too far, no bull is too far, and I end up saying yes a lot more than making an excuse. Like I can just give myself a chance. If I see a bull way out there or a buck way out there, it's like, I'm going for it. I'm going to give myself a chance and see what I can do. And I'm not going to be reckless, but I'm definitely going to try to give myself a chance. And there's a lot of bucks and bulls I've killed where I don't even know if I can make it till last light, but I'm going to send it anyways and see if I can give myself a chance. So my physical fitness, there's all these pillars to bow hunting, but that's one of the major pillars. And so day in, day out, I'm putting in the work to be ready for hunting season for sure.
Have you found all that physical fitness over the years has also translated over to making you better at your career? Not hunting at all, but just being at work, being sharper cognitively and physically. Do you think it paid dividends?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, it's, I always feel like I'm and I have a physical job working construction, but I'm always the most physical fit on the job site. Like I don't get tired or fatigued. And a lot of the work I do is dangerous, like setting trusses or working roofs where I really have to keep my focus on those jobs. So without a doubt, the mental clarity, physical fitness, like I can always just trust in my body, my heat adaptation. Like I really worked on my heat training before going to Hawaii. It's super hot there and you're doing 12, 13 miles a day, but you're doing it in the heat and the humidity, and you're doing it across that lava rock landscape that's all uneven. So like my heat training, I'm so heat adapted that like, the heat doesn't bother me on the job site. In fact, I embrace it. I want to run during the hottest part of the day or get my workouts in the hottest part of the day, the sauna work, like all those little things I'm doing gives me such confidence. So the heat doesn't bother me. I hear guys complain when it gets hot and I'm unaffected by it, and so
that's amazing.
It definitely helps me in life, at my job, and just gives me such confidence in my body and my ability to accomplish tasks. And like you say, I think I've gained so much mentally that it just makes me stronger mentally when I'm in these tough bow hunts, when I'm in a tough place in work. I can just always get myself through it, So yeah, 100%, man.
And then transferring back to September. So as there'll be guys on hunts right now as they're listening to this episode on their way to a hunt or maybe a couple days into it. And if they went into the field with technical skills, so they're proficient with their archery equipment. They went into the field with physical preparation, so they did some great training all summer. You do see a lot of mental collapses too. That the mental collapse seems to hit a tremendous amount of guys, especially still even after they've trained with their bow or trained in the gym or in the hills or running. And a lot of that seems to be, it's difficult to be alone, so they're going to struggle being alone. They're going to have difficulties spending night after night on the mountain, eating not phenomenal food. They're going to miss their family, and they're going to start thinking about their responsibilities at work, and they're going to kind of pull that eject button and go home early after a couple hard days. How do you usually communicate to those folks?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's spot on. You describe it so well, Dustin, because you've been there. It's like not a feeling that just those guys feel. It's all of us.
Yep.
You know, that we do get those feelings on a hunt. Like you push hard, but your mind starts to play tricks on you. You're sleep deprived, you're exhausted. Maybe you haven't seen animals, like you haven't had chances at them, and you kind of think like, what the heck am I doing here? Like I should be back working. I should be back spending time with my family, the thing that matters most to me. Like your head starts playing these tricks with you, you know? And so I think what you have to remember is that your end goal, like you've worked all year to get to these days. You've prepared your family. Like my family knows I'm going to be gone, knows I'm going to be hunting hard, and I know things are taken care of on the home front, and I've worked hard in the summer. We're just getting back from a family trip. We've spent a bunch of time together. I know everybody's good and they're going to manage the household. I know at work, like I've done all the tough work. Like I'm not trying to avoid responsibility. I've worked extra to be able to get myself to a place to go hunt. So I've taken care of all these responsibilities at work. I have the right people in the right places. If there's a problem that arises, I know they can handle it. And I've also done it enough times to know that like these problems seem worse, like when you're in the backcountry or you can't just jump on them. But the moment I get home and I start handling things, I can always take care of things, you know? And so I know that these are my days for myself to really push myself physically and mentally. And when things get hard and I have to grind, like I just know there's a greater reward at the end. And that greater reward, like even if I don't arrow an animal, I made it the 7 days that I allotted to go on this hunt. So just keeping my mind in it and keeping focused on the task at hand and my next move, like it's part of the beauty of hunting is that we're immersed in this challenge. And so I try to just keep in that present moment, keep immersed and think of how fortunate I am that I even get to spend days back here, that I'm in this wild country and I get this chance at chasing bulls or chasing bucks. And I know that success can come in a moment's notice, you know, that all I need is an opportunity or a sliver of an opportunity and I can make something happen. So I just keep believing, try to keep my head in it, try to know that everything's taken care of, and just try to keep strong mentally, like if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And I think you nailed it too with the preparation on the front end. Because if the preparation, just like our physical, just like our technical, if that preparation on the front end is also preparing the family and then preparing our career for our departure, then there's so many less thoughts that can stew up in the back of our mind because that work has already been done, which is that's a huge golden nugget for sure.
Yeah, just focusing in and getting in front of it and making sure that you're being responsible, that you're taking care of all these things before you leave. Yeah, it really eases the mind and you have less to worry about than if you left a bunch of problems or left a bunch of things undone. So yeah, it's, right now is the busiest time of year trying to get all those things done. So those responsibilities are taken care of. So I can go hunt and be immersed in that present moment. So I think it's, just enjoy your days, try to be present out there, try to keep pushing. And I think it's also good to be able to find your mountain pace as well. Like, I know, like I am in great physical shape, great mental, toughness. I know that I practice with I know all these things, but I also know that I pay for it after a big day of exertion. So in the mountains, like I'm really good for like 10 miles a day, 3,000 vert, get a decent night's sleep. I'll recover. I'll feel like a brand new human in the morning. I can keep pushing, but I know that I'm going to pay for it if I have a 20-mile day. If I see a buck and I have to make this huge play and I don't get back to my tent till midnight, I know I'll pay for it the next day. And my thoughts start to get worse as well, like start to get darker. That's when it starts to creep in. And so like, I know just finding my mountain pace, like if I can just 10 miles a day, 3,000 vert, make my plays, make my stalks. And there's a time and a place to go all in on a big 20-mile day or a huge stalk. Maybe it's the opportunity. And I just realize that and know that I'll pay for it the next couple days. I'll be feeling it and can push through it. But I think it's important to find your pace in the mountains and not go out too hard at first and burn yourself out in those first couple days. Like you want to continually to put forth like good effort, good miles, good glass, like do all the right things. But, you know, it does no good to go out and do a couple 20-mile days back to back, burn yourself out, and then you're home when you had 7 days to hunt. So I think that mountain pace is pretty important too. And we're up at high elevation. We're sleep deprived. We're putting all this exertion in. Like I think it's just good to find that mountain pace that you can sustain throughout the entirety of the hunt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like life. It's like the devil attacks us when we're hungry, tired, or bored and alone. And a lot of those are all going to happen on a hunting trip. So if you can manage those, that the boost to your morale can be significant. But just knowing that, like that took you some maturity and experience in trips to figure out. Because when you're younger, you know, you can push the limits of that exhaustion and pay for it. You can push the limits of that hunger and pay for it. And it's fine to push those, like you said, at the right moment for the right opportunity. But a big part of, especially like a 7 or 10 day trip, is longevity and sustainability. And so you kind of switch that perspective of like, how am I going to manage this trip holistically? I don't want to crash and burn. And I think a lot of that is around rest, recovery, food, nutrition, hydration. And then, you know, the boredom of being alone too, making sure that you're managing that. Because a lot of your trips are solo trips, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Solo adds a whole new dynamic, because that camaraderie, your buddy's not there to lift you up and you can't lift him up. And solo takes an extra sharpening of the mind for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, your self-talk really matters back there. Like what you tell yourself in your own mind, not verbalizing like anything negative. And you can have those thoughts come in, but I don't verbalize it. I don't give weight to it, and keeping that positive self-talk and that belief in myself. Like I had a Shiras tag a couple of years ago. It's one of my biggest bow hunting challenges. And, you know, moose can just be so random where you run into them. And so I'm doing this combination of driving roads, this combination of still hunting, and then also vantage points. But there's a lot of days where I don't even see a moose or I don't see a bull moose. And it actually took me, I spent 30 days hunting this tag.
Jeez.
And I'm committed to doing it with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And it was on the 30th day where I finally saw a shooter bull. So it's day after day, and my self-talk got me like in the middle of this hunt. Like I've been to Alaska. I didn't kill an Alaskan Yukon. I did this amazing 100-mile float and had some opportunities at Great Bulls. Now I have this Shiras tag. I've scouted all summer. I'm putting full effort in. I want to kill one with my bow. And my self-talk got negative. I remember sitting on the vantage point and like thinking to myself, like, I'm the crappiest moose hunter alive. I can't find one of these things. I can't run into one. Like, I'm just a crappy moose hunter. And I like snap myself out of it. I'm like, man, you can't talk to yourself that way. Like, you are a good bow hunter. You've proven it time and time again. You've put the work in. Like, you're going to find a moose. You're going to get an opportunity. And what that negative self-talk did is like, I was not putting forth full effort. All of a sudden, I was starting to take the easier way out of things. I was driving more roads, or, you know, I wasn't, you know, being at the right spots at the right time, or I wasn't putting this full effort in. And I was able to snap myself out of it and say, well, I'm going to give it absolutely everything I have, because I probably won't have this opportunity again. And finally ended up arrowing a great bull in 1.5 feet of snow after the rut, like in November as the season's winding down. One of my biggest bow bow hunting achievements to
insane.
keep putting effort in, day out. But that's like what really tested the mental side, because it's so random to run into him. And like, man, I had a buddy staying with me and he was hunting elk, and I had seen a nice 6-point bull from the vantage. And so I sent him after the 6-point bull. I hunted another area and he saw a shooter moose in there. Then I went back to go find that shooter moose. And then he saw one driving the road over off another drainage. Like, they're so random when you run into them. So it like almost drove me nuts. But that self-talk is so important. So as these guys start to get down, don't verbalize that self-talk about the pressure, about how there's no animals left, or, plugging in one of those excuses why you're not going to be successful. It's giving you a reason to not keep pushing hard, to not be successful. When if you keep that self-talk positive, like, I am going to find one. I'm going to go to a new area. I'm going to put in effort in there and grab some vantage points. Like, man, I'm going to find a bull. I'm going to find a buck. I'm going to get my chance. That positive self-talk, like, you can almost like make it happen just by the way you talk to yourself.
Yeah. Self-talk is the greatest strength and the darkest shadow, for sure. It applies, like everything we're talking about, to work and family as well. But self-talk when you're hunting, I tell a lot of younger guys that have asked me this question around this topic of, staying out in the field on these long hunts. And there is that saying of choose your guilt. So if you're at work and you're guilty about not being with your family, if you shift and spend too much time with your family, now you're guilty about not spending enough time at work. And so you start choosing your guilt. And it is the same on these hunts. So on these very difficult, extended time frame hunts, especially if you put in the work at work to be prepared and you put in the work at home to be prepared, now you're out on this trip, that self-talk is going to hit you. And on day 3 of 7, if the self-talk gets you and you go home, you're going to have so much guilt about going home. You're going to have so much guilt of quitting early, and you're going to be pretty miserable back at home because you should be on the mountain if the preparation was done. And so choosing that guilt is a big kind of helpful tool, because I think that self-talk only gets worse and worse and worse if we don't take that thought captive right away and shut it down. Because if you ruminate on it more and more and more, it's going to lead to more negative thoughts. And then you have this giant negative snowball to try to fight your way out of. And it's brutal.
Man, 100%. I've never heard that. Choose your guilt. Yeah, it's put really well.
Yeah.
You can just, you can hear your experience in backcountry hunting or in life when you talk about these. Like, you have these tools that you've put in place that then you use in these difficult situations, man. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's that self-talk. There's a runner, I can't remember if I read it or where I picked it up at, but he was saying to not verbalize like these negative thoughts. And he was in like an endurance race, and he'd have, he said the moment people start to verbalize it, like all of a sudden, then it happens, or they drop out of the race. Like all of a sudden somebody will say, oh, my knee's hurting. Yeah, my knee's bothering me. Mm-hmm. And they start verbalizing it. And pretty soon, a few more laps down this endurance race, they verbalized it, and now they drop out. And he said he just never admitted it. Like, he may be hurting, but he's never going to verbalize it or say it. Like, he may have those thoughts inside his head, but to not give them power and to keep on that positive self-talk. But I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Mountain Tough is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Mountain Tough ethos is backed by, we've always wanted to be the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough. So inside the Mountain Tough app, you're not only going to find all of our physical training programs, but you're going to find additional training as well, so that you can stay sharp physically, mentally, spiritually, and nutritionally. The Mountain Tough app also allows you to train no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. Additionally, the Mountain Tough app is going to have programs from beginners all the way up to elite athletes. And all of our programming is structured in a way that you can start with no gear at body weight, and you can go all the way up to programming that is full gear. so you can do that in a robust home gym or your local gym. There's no excuse for you not to start today. With Mountain Tough, you can conquer your goals with the ideal program for your lifestyle and schedule. Train with equipment or just your body weight on your phone, tablet, TV, or web browser. Most importantly, Mountain Tough will help you train your mindset so you are always ready for anything life throws your way. Mountain Tough is offering the Mountain Tough podcast listeners an incredible offer. 6 weeks free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do is use the code MTNTOUGH to redeem your 6 weeks of training. That'll be a 14-day free trial plus a whole additional 4 weeks of training. Just go to mountaintough.com and enter code MTNPOD for your 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app. You've been listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast.
Yeah, verbalizing, like when you're tired and stuff like that, if you just never verbalize it, even like throughout your workday, is a big game changer for sure. Because otherwise it will just start manifesting in your mind worse and worse and worse. And I think for hunters too, that when I was younger, and so I started archery hunting when I was 14 and I'm 42 now, and kind of in those mid-20, when I was in my mid-20s, I remember those trips of coming home early when you shouldn't have, and how much, and you nailed it too. You think you're going to get back home and there's going to be all these massive problems that you were supposed to be at home to take care of. That's really not generally the reality. Usually you're back home and everything's fine, and then you're miserable being back home. And I really found, like, over time as I got older, that like there's so much power in like your yes being your yes and your no being your no. And so if you're driving out right now from Colorado for a 7-day archery hunt, your yes is you committed to 7 days. And if your yes is your yes and you finish that 7 days, even unsuccessfully, if you don't fill that tag, you'll go home with so much pride that you stuck it out to the very end. And it's the same as like a physical habit in the gym. It's the same as any habit, that confidence of always fulfilling the promise to yourself. The more you fulfill that promise to yourself, the stronger that component of your mind gets. And so then after you do that year after year after year, like you've done, then when you have to make a 30-day commitment for something, it's going to happen because that habit's gotten stronger over decades. But the same thing will happen on the negative side, where if you're consistently coming home early, then it's going to be very difficult to ever have that perseverance for a long, difficult trip.
Yeah, it's so true. We're building habits, whether we realize it or not, all the time. Yeah. And to build those positive habits, to build that positive self-talk, it comes into play like on these difficult hunts. And, just going into and realizing it, that, bow hunting, backcountry bow hunting is like one of the most difficult challenges out there. Like, that's the reason why you've embarked on it, Yep. And so to embrace that challenge, to embrace that toughness, you come back better for it. And spending those days afield, whether you were successful or not, you're improving your skill set, which is, this is like a lifelong journey. It's not something we get good at in a day, a month, or a year. So like spending those days in the woods hunting elk will make us a better elk hunter. So maybe it isn't a 6-point bull on that hunt, but on the next hunt, or maybe on your late season mule deer hunt, because you put in those days and you've improved that skill set, you'll see that success sooner. And so just the belief in it, and that positive mindset, and that sticking it out, and then putting the days in full effort. And it's amazing like how many times things come together in the end. It's like it's a lot of these hunts, like I've been fortunate to be successful on a lot of these hunts. And there's times where it just feels like it's mission impossible. I've screwed up stalks on bucks, and that's another thing is like being able to pick yourself up after a low. Like bow hunting will give you the highest highs, but it'll also give you the lowest lows. Like maybe you've been waiting for 7 days, you finally got a stalk on a buck and you spooked him out of there, or you missed the shot, or something bad happens. You know, you have to be able to pick yourself up out of the dumps, out of that low, and get back after it. And I'm only a decent bow hunter because I've failed every different way that you can fail on stalks, on shots, on hunts. Like I've made the mistakes. I learn from them. I get better, but I can accept it now. Like I always say it's like worth the price of admission. So like I get a chance at a giant buck and I make a stalk and maybe I blow him out. And it's like, well, you know, I had my chance at him. Like, this is what I'm here for. Like, that was worth the price of admission. That was worth the gas money and driving down here. I got a chance. But I can just snap myself out of those lows pretty quick and just continue to put forth effort. And there's a ton of hunts where I have missed a shot at a great bull or a great buck, and I pick myself up, I get back after it, I earn another opportunity and end up arrowing a buck or a bull, you know, and then those failures, you know, they don't cut so deep or hurt so bad because I've picked myself up from it, continued to put forth effort, and made it happen again. And there's like this feeling like that was my chance. There's this feeling you have where you work so hard and you're like, well, that was my chance. That was a 6-point bull. Like I didn't kill him. I missed him. Well, that was my hunt. You know, I'm done now. And they're almost cooked, even though they have 2 or 3 days left, where it's like you can still pick yourself back up, get back after it, and arrow a bull. That doesn't have to be the end to your story.
It's such a pro tip, though, because you have to shake off that failure really fast. Because if you ruminate on it for several days of your trip, like, oh, I'm an idiot, I'm a failure, I'm such a bad hunter. If you are ruminating on that for a full day or a day or two, or the rest of your trip's over mentally. Your trip is game over mentally. And that exact same thing is going to happen to you at work and at home. And so it's like, we all are going to fail all the time, over and over again. But how fast can you learn from it and then get back to work? And I think all great hunters have that skill honed in more than others, and it's because we're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you have to pull those lessons out of it. Like, I should have went left when I went right, or I should have went low when I went high, and then you got to keep on moving. But if you think about it all day and it leads you into that depressive state, that's gonna wreck a trip real fast.
So true, man. Yeah, again, I just hear the experience in your voice that you've been there before. Yeah, it's like we all have.
Yeah,
like we've all failed. We've missed a slam dunk shot. We've messed up a stalk, and you feel like that's your chance. But yeah, the quicker you take the lesson from it, the quicker you pick yourself up and get back after it, like the better you're going to be. And it's amazing, like how many times you can make something happen after a failure like that. And life is full of struggle. Like life is full of failures, full of mistakes, and like you're right. The quicker that you can pick yourself up and get back after it, the quicker you can accomplish your goals, and it's gonna happen. I mean, it happens to all of us hunters. It's we miss shots, we mess up stalks, we go to the wrong spot, we make the wrong decision. There's 100 right decisions that have to go into it to arrow a bull or to arrow a buck. It's like, pick yourself back up, get back after it. Don't beat yourself up over it. Learn from it, and try to make the right decision on the next one. But even, you know, like telling you that mouflon story of the mistake I made by not being patient enough and learning from it, and then end up arrowing a ram in the end. You know, that I could have just said, well, that was my chance. Those were 2 giant rams and I messed it up, you know, and then I'm just hanging my heads in the dump. I'm not putting in full effort. I'm not glassing like I should. You know, I probably wouldn't have found that ram and put a perfect arrow into him the last hour of the last day. So those lessons are just going to play out time and time again. So the quicker you can get over it and get back after it, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, one of our kind of early mentors in Mountain Tough history, he used to talk to us a lot about, like, you can't fail if you're always learning. And so he helped us, like, in the Mountain Tough entrepreneurship side. We started viewing every single thing we did as a test. And so you would launch a project, you'd launch a campaign, you'd launch a product, and it was the mindset every single time that it's a test, it's a test, it's a test. We're testing this concept, we're testing the market. And that was such a significant game changer because you didn't experience the giant lows of failure like you would if you said it's life or death if this thing works. And so we would launch products and we'd be like testing the market to see how they respond. And we would use that feedback to build the next product. And so every single thing we did was a test, which was a huge driver of our success over the years, because those failures can really, really bring you down. But if you shift your mindset and your perspective to pretty much everything I'm doing as a test as a hunter at work and at home, then it does open your mind to it. Well, if it's a test, then I really need to learn from what I'm doing, what worked and what didn't work. And it's not life or death. It's not, I failed, I'm a failure, I need to pack up and do something else. It's like, well, that was a test. That went really well. Well, why'd it go well? That went really bad. Well, why'd it go bad? And it also does it only break that heaviness of failure when you call it a test. And you can do the same thing in hunting. Like, I stalked that bull, I blew him out of there, but I was testing this theory on my stock, I was testing this calling theory, which happens to me a lot. Like, I should have used a different style of call in that moment, but switching it reduces the heaviness of failure, but it also makes you want to adapt and try things way more often. So like at work, when you're testing, it's like you're excited and eager to get more tests out there. In hunting, when you're testing your style as a bow hunter, when you're testing your approach, because some guys kill a lot of bulls and they don't even bring a call into the mountains. Some guys kill a lot of bulls and they're using bugles all the time. Some guys kill a lot of bulls and they're very, very rarely bugling and they're cow calling a lot. So finding your own style and your own personality as a hunter is huge, and it takes a lot of testing. You got to really test to figure out like who you are and how you operate as a bow hunter. But getting away from it being like life or death failure and switching that mindset into like here's another testing opportunity, that's helped me a lot for sure.
That's beautiful, man. I love that perspective. Yeah, calling it a test. And you're right, some guys get stuck and don't know what move to make, or they start second guessing themselves. And ultimately, like you have to go out and test things and figure out what works for you, like building your hunting style. Like you said, like I have a one buddy that hunts super aggressive, more aggressive than me. You know, he covers country, he makes plays, he blows animals out, but he gets it done. I also have a guy that's more patient than me, that he's so slow, it's painful to hunt with him. We hardly go anywhere. It's glassing in front of him. But both of these guys have built their own style. It works for them and they see success. So you have to build your own style and you have to take chance, give yourself a chance. Like you got to go out and not be afraid to fail. You got to go see a buck and go, okay, I'm going to make a play on this buck. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I think gives me the best chance. And you go over there and you learn from it. Like experience is the best teacher, and you can apply, different people's styles to your hunting and see what works for you, but you have to build your own style. You have to take chances, not be afraid to fail. I think that's just such great perspective to keep when you're doing things. Is like when you're starting out, you don't know what's wrong and what's right. You got to go over, give yourself a chance, go make a play, and may not come together. Well, you get the next one, or you learn from it and you get better, you evolve from it. But it's so important in hunting and in life. I love what you talk about in business. Like not everything you hit's going to be a home run. You know, it's like I have tried things in the market that have failed miserably, and I have to pick myself back up and go, well, I'm just going to put my effort in a different place. Like you said, a different test to see what the market responds to, and so I think just taking action and doing it has been a big part of why I've seen success in every portion of my life, is just going for it and then not letting those failures beat me up too bad, and then getting back after it and finding a way to succeed or a path to succeed. Yeah, I think that's so important, man.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too, that not everything is going to be a home run. What I've found in Mountain Tough's journey is very, very few, if anything, all is a home run. It's it's a whole lot of perseverance. It's a whole lot of never quitting. And it's a whole lot of tiny little baby steps that lead to some sort of success. And that's exactly what happens when you're bow hunting. Like it's extremely rare when there's like a home run first hour, first day of the trip, giant animal harvest with archery equipment. It's like decades and decades and decades of baby steps adding up to this amazing moment after a lot of hard work. And I think in the early days of Mountain Tough, we always thought that like this amazing brand talking about us was going to be this giant home run. And then maybe it was this other amazing marketing opportunity that was going to be this giant home run. And like years of experience taught me that that's very, very rare that is ever the truth. The truth is it's a game of attrition. It's just not quitting and continuing to test new things. And I think that almost like taking that home run mentality off the table and just realizing that like it's a lot of hard work that leads to great moments is usually what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. It's just wild, like the parallel journeys, persistence is deadly, like perseverance, like keeping after it. And that's for business, for life, for bow hunting, like just keeping after it and keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I've got my skill sets to a place to where I expect to be successful, but there too, like, none of these animals know the previous animals I've harvested. I don't show up at a trailhead and the animals know I'm Brian Barney and just it's going to be easy. Like every year I have to prove it again. That's why I continue to put the work in every off season, because I know it's going to be so difficult when I show up. But to show up at a trailhead and just believe like, I'm undeniable. Like I am going to figure out a way to get it done in this place. I'm going to continue to put forth effort. And, sometimes, an antelope, I killed my very first antelope, my very first stalk last year. Well, there's years where it's taken me 20 stalks to get it done. It worked out that way, but then I start chasing 6-point bulls, and all of a sudden, I'm 4 or 5 plays. I'm in the teens of days. I've lost my cameraman. Like all of a sudden, I feel like my back's against the wall. I remember jumping on the podcast and just sharing my mentality about persistence and how I'll continue to put forth effort. And, here's the plays I've had. Maybe I should have done this different, but, I'm going to continue to put forth effort. And, it wasn't a handful of days later that I had arrowed a 6-point bull and it finally came together and played it right. So it doesn't always happen on the first time or the first chance. Like, and even being to where I'm at as a bow hunter, like, man, I've still got to be able to grind. I've still got to believe in myself. All these things we're talking about, like I still have to put into practice on a hunt, and I've got to go prove it again. And it doesn't ever come easy. It's always a grind, and it's always tougher than I think it's going to be as well. Like I'm not sure which challenges I'm going to face this year. It may be weather and lightning, maybe hunting pressure, but I know that I have the ability to be able to adapt, to be able to put myself into a place and give myself an opportunity where I'm going to arrow some trophy critters this year, And so I just believe in that process and believe in that hard work and that effort, and then continue to put in the work year after year, because it doesn't get any easier. That's for sure.
Yeah. All those skills would atrophy.
Yeah.
And it's so cool too, because if it was easy, you wouldn't even like it and you wouldn't even do it. Like if it was easy, it would not be something that Brian Barney did. He would be on a whole different journey.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
It's the difficulty that keeps me coming back, for sure.
Yeah, it's what makes it so great. Cool, man. I know you're busy and you got a full schedule today. So in closing, though, I was curious what your fall is going to look like this year.
So stoked, man. I got this big fall in front of me. I've set myself up right where I have a bunch of time to chase critters. So yeah, really full schedule, kind of my Super Bowl. Like I love high country mule deer. So I've got an early season tag in Colorado. It's going to be above 12,000 feet. It's a place that I love. Like I've taken bucks out of there before, and really putting full effort into it. So I'm going down multiple days early for scouting, like a week early, where I'm going to acclimate my body to the 12,000 feet. I'm going to be shooting my bow, and then I'm going to go to all the different places that these bucks like, and I'm going to try to find the biggest buck in the unit and try to put an arrow in them. And it's really extreme country. It demands total commitment. And so it's part of the drive behind this off season. It's been really pushing me hard to be at my very best. And so I can't wait. It's going to be a huge test. There's giant bucks in there, and man, I'm going to give it my all in there. So that's, I guess first, I leave on Wednesday. I've killed a bunch of really good antelope. I've never killed an 80-incher. So this year I'm traveling Montana, taking a week to really chase them around to see if I can kill an 80. So that'll be the first hunt of the year.
That's then coming up like this week.
Right? Yeah. I leave on Wednesday, and I'll be gone for like 5 days. Gonna go travel like where the biggest antelope live in the state, and see if I can't get one done spot and stock. Jump into that Colorado hunt. A couple elk tags. I've got one in the mountains and one in like kind of that rolling breaks country. And so really psyched to get back there. So got a couple different bull tags, and really just one good 6-point bull between those hunts, and I'll be stoked. And then I've got some late season deer tags as well. And so it's going to be a really full season all the way from August to December, and going for it. So yeah, I've been working really hard to set up my life so I can take a bunch of time, get my family ready. So man, I'm pumped.
That's a monster season this year.
Oh, I can't wait.
Will you have time for Montana elk?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got a bunch of days planning. It's nice that October season runs into October. I get some great hunting in October. So yeah, as it gets to about hunting like those high country mule deer, that season closes, or they let in muzzleloaders on the 10th of September. So looking to wrap it up by then, and then I'll get right to hunting elk in the mountains, and then have that till about the 18th, 20th, and then right on to Montana elk from the 20th of September through October till I can kill a good bull. So I can't wait, man. Hunting elk is like some of the most thrilling hunting out there. There's just nothing I'd rather be doing come September. Dude, it's just the absolute best. And so, it's also really pushing myself to see what I'm capable of as far as quality of animals. Like the highest, like the higher the challenge, the greater the reward. And so I've killed a bunch of great bulls. And so, set my standards pretty high this season, because I know I'm dangerous with a tag in my pocket. By the way, it's my favorite new hat, is that stay dangerous. Your guys' slogan is so good, man. I just, I've been living that all off season long, but just trying to stay dangerous. But I am dangerous with a tag in my pocket. So really holding out on a quality critter, because I know what I'm capable of, and know that I can gamble, a tag or a season, or not filling out a tag at the chance of a world class animal is pretty amazing. So I've got some big goals this season, and can't wait to show off all my hard work from the off season, and see if we can't get a couple good arrows and some good critters.
That's incredible. Yeah. We can't wait to follow your journey. It's gonna be fun to watch as you progress through the season and what you're up to with that Colorado high elevation. I know the elevation alone on those hunts is a game changer and crushes a lot of people. So that you going in the best shape of your life, I think that's going to be tremendous. It's going to be fun to hear about for sure.
It's huge, man. It's what's pushed me all season long for sure, is I know how difficult that country is. So a lot of high mountain runs, like getting my body used to that high altitude, because it just hits different. Man, it's just like not only your breath or heart rate goes up, which I've done a lot of heart rate training, and that's one of the things that I love about Mountain Tough, is the combination between strength and endurance, is it's really pushed me to get better. But a lot of high elevation running, getting my body ready for it, and being in great physical shape is going to be my advantage there. Showing up early, acclimating to the to the altitude up and through there to hunting that high elevation is going to be a game changer. And it's difficult. Like, you don't get as much oxygen to your muscles. So a hill that I'd run up at home at 5,000 or 6,000 feet in elevation at 12,000 feet, pretty soon it's going to take me a half an hour to grind up there.
Yeah.
The burn hits my legs quicker. Like, everything is tougher up at that elevation, more sleep deprived, don't have the same appetite. So need to really work to get the fuel in, hydrating, using some hydration supplements this year that have been amazing, been a game changer for me. So like, a lot of these changes, or a lot of my focus is to be ready for this super extreme bow hunt. So I can't wait, man.
Man, that's incredible. Cool. Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I know you got to get your family and your job prepared for you to leave. So we'll let you get out of here. And I know we're talking tomorrow for your show, so we'll catch up more then.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks a bunch for the friendship, man. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep. Bye.
What a phenomenal conversation today with Brian. Man, I love that guy. He brings so much motivation to a room. He is so inspiring. He really walks the walk and talks the talk. The way that he prepares his family, the way that he prepares his business, the way that he prepares his mind, the way that he prepares his body for archery season to be one of the best bow hunters in the world is so motivational. So many golden nuggets in that episode to help you get through this hunting season. Save this one, download this one, share this one with some buddies that are heading out in the field. This will help you get through those long hunts. Listen to it on your way to your hunt. Those skills, those tools that he talked about are a game changer, and he has proved that year after year. It's going to be fun to follow him on this packed season he has coming up. Love talking to that guy. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure you check Brian out on Instagram and follow him on this journey. He also hosts an amazing podcast on Eastmans Elevated, so check that out as well. And you can hear him host his own show. His own show is packed with so many tips, so many hunting tips and tools and tactics that'll elevate you as a bow hunter. Thanks for being here. Love you guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Mountain Tough Podcast. We'll see you next week.